They're heading to the UK tonight, and it's expected he'll go through his Manchester United medical in the next 24 hours. It's quite amazing, really, the saga that has been Benjamin Sesko over the course of this week. There's been so much back and forth. There's been so many things reported, and we understand that the deal that Manchester United have agreed with RB Leipzig is worth £66.3 million as a guaranteed fixed payment, additional payments at £7.37 million. According to our colleague Sky in Germany, he's going to sign a 5-year deal. And what's remarkable is that offer, that agreement that Manchester United have come to an agreement with Leipzig is actually less than Newcastle's second offer. So therefore, you have to say, once again, frustration for Eddie Howe. They cannot do any more than offer more than Manchester United. If the player has decided he wants to go to Old Trafford, then there's absolutely nothing they can do about that. But Manchester United, Ruben Amorim, getting the man they want. They wanted a new front three. They've got a brand new front three with a mix of Premier League experience, a mix of high ceilings, a mix of real potential in Benjamin Sesko, who's been watched by Real Madrid and some of the biggest clubs in European football over the course of the last few years. He's now got his chance at one of the biggest clubs in the world. He's now going to be playing at the Theatre of Dreams. And Ruben Amorim, as long as those Manchester United fans will also be hoping he is the real deal and the one that they have been looking for so many years.
Michael, Mark said the word potential there. Now, playing for Manchester United, we all know, is a different kettle of fish, the scrutiny. Should United fans be a little bit cautious about the expectations for a player like this?
Yeah, potentially, 22 years of age. But I think, you know, it's unbelievable to see Man United not in Europe next season. But I just get that feeling it might help them. Just on this, this is a complete reset for Manchester United Football Club. We know Ruben Amorim was a bit against joining the football club midway through the season. It took a while to click, finished very low in the league table. But they've got their business, their front three, done early. I see a number of clubs, and I'm thinking you're nowhere near ready to start the season. There's a strong possibility those front three who they've signed, Sesko's obviously on his way now, those front three could make their debuts, league debuts against Arsenal at the weekend, on the opening weekend.
Yeah, and I'm excited about watching this new-look Manchester United side as well. You know, Ruben Amorim has always said, I'd rather go into a football club at the start of the summer so I could have 6 to 8 weeks or so with my team, really implementing my philosophy within that group. He didn't get the opportunity at Manchester United. He had to go in midway through a campaign. It wasn't a fantastic season despite getting to the Europa League final. It didn't end in the way they wanted. No European football. But now he's had the backing of Omar Barada, Jason Wilcox and Sir Jim Radcliffe. There's been a lot of cutbacks at Manchester United. No cutbacks in the transfer window. They're spending around £200 million over the course of this summer so far. We know that they'll be hoping to rejuvenate and recoup some money from those potential player sales as well. But once again, this is a huge statement signing for Manchester United. This is a player that could be one of the best strikers in world football in the next year, 2 years, 3 years. He's only 22 years old. He's got a really high ceiling, and that's what Manchester United are buying. They're buying someone who they believe can go into that team now, but also could be an absolute icon for many years to come at one of the biggest clubs in the world. And that's where I'm intrigued as to how this works out. Ruben Amorim is very focused on the style of football he wants, the setup for his team and what he's looking for. He's got all of the tools now at his disposal. So as far as the fans are concerned, the wider footballing public, no excuses now. Manchester United, you have to deliver.
All right, so that said, how good a window is this for Manchester United?
You'd like to... Well, for United, they need to get the players out they don't want. I think that has to be considered a great success if that's to happen. I mean, we'll be talking maybe Alejandro Garnacho maybe later, but you've got Anthony, you've got Jadon Sancho, Marcus Rashford has left to go to Barcelona, Thierry Malacia. I think it's not a success if United don't get those players out, because people are obviously rightfully saying, well, they're spending a lot of money because those players who aren't part of the plans are currently on big wages. So there must be that hope / expectation that these players will eventually leave the football club.
Do they have to go now, though, Mark?
No. Manchester United have been quite clever in one respect, because when they bought Matheus Cunha, £62.5 million release clause, that was actioned in the previous accounting period before the 1st of July. So therefore, in theory, they have got that outlay, which will be amortised over 5 years in the previous set of accounts. And the business they've done since the 1st of July will appear in this set of accounts. And obviously that runs to the 30th of June. So any potential player sales, as long as they're done by the 30th of June 2026, then they've got that time to try and balance out, should they need to, this set of accounts over the next 12 months or so. So it's the same with Newcastle when they sold Yankuba Minte and Elliot Anderson and took the goalkeeper from Forest. Aston Villa have done it in the past. Other sides have traded amongst each other when they've needed to make sure they balance the books for PSR reasons. So Manchester United, whilst they're not in Europe, are in a situation where they've actually got a little bit more time to make sure they can balance things before next year.
Well, Liverpool
make mistakes and suffer with points deductions in the past, and Manchester United need to make sure they're not one of those sides that fall foul to the rules. But the good thing for them is they're not in Europe this season, and I say good thing because when you're in Europe, you have two sets of financial rules you have to respect. PSR from the Premier League and UEFA's FFP, Financial Fair Play. And they are very different rules, similar in one respect, but very different. But those teams in Europe have to make sure they abide by those FFP European rules. The fact that they don't have European football means they don't have to worry about it this season. However, they still have a PSR deadline of next year, so they have got time to make sure they make sales.
But they also don't want players in the squad that they don't want, do they? So who are the ones, Michael, that should be, or we think might be heading for the exit door?
Yeah, I think this is a club reset for Manchester United. It's unthinkable a club of United size not being in Europe. You just think this one season, it might do them a little bit of good. Let's talk about the players potentially on the way out. These are big names, more importantly, big wages. Let's start with Alejandro Garnacho, who Ruben Amorim's been quite vocal in the sense that he probably needs a fresh challenge. And who is the club they're expecting a formal offer from? And that club is Chelsea. And United want around £50 million. Now, United are aware of Chelsea's interest in the forward, and we know his future is likely to be away from Old Trafford. As we've reported, Chelsea are looking to sign Garnacho and Xavi Simons before the end of the window. So that's one key player potentially on his way out. Two more big names. One was a huge signing under Eric Ten Hag and Manchester United. It's just not worked out for him at all. But it did work out for him last season at Real Betis. They're pushing to still do this deal, but financially I think they're struggling at the moment. But United working with Betis to potentially do this deal. Anything United do, they want something with a permanent offer attached at the end of this. That includes Borussia Dortmund still trying to sign Jadon Sancho for a third time. But again, it comes down to these big players, big wages.
You meant Anthony there, didn't you?
Sorry, Anthony. Yes, my apologies.
Anthony mentioned. What about Højlund? Is he going to go if Sesko comes in? What do we think?
I don't think there's a guarantee on that, is there? You know, look, this is still someone who's had a tough couple of years, but I still say did pretty well, Rasmus Højlund, in his first season at Manchester United in the Champions League. I don't think there's a rush, but I do think there's a feeling if a club came in, maybe United would consider it.
Yeah, I think Manchester United have said to Rasmus Højlund, look, you know, we like you, we respect you. He wants to stay at the football club. He wants to fight for his place. However, as we've been discussing, financially, sometimes the accountants have more control over the football club than the manager or the head coach because they need to make sure they balance the books. And if someone goes to Manchester United, we know there's a lot of interest from 3 or 4 sides in Serie A, as well as Saudi Arabia and other teams in the Bundesliga. So there are clubs that are queuing up saying, we'll take Rasmus Højlund. And if the offer was suitable, Manchester United may say, OK, we have to accept this and we'd like you to move on. He was in the discussion to go to RB Leipzig when they were talking about Benjamin Sesko. So there has been dialogue there about a potential departure from Old Trafford. The player's stance is quite simple, but ultimately finances may dictate where he ends up this season. You could potentially see him going on loan with an option because he'll be told, look, you're not going to get much game time here at Manchester United. We haven't got European football, so therefore there's less games. You might be on the bench a bit. It might be advisable that you look elsewhere, and this could be the right opportunity for you.
You've got to say, though, Ruben Amorim's going to be absolutely delighted to get Cunha, which was done very early, and Mbumo and Sesko all done in time for their opening Premier League match against Arsenal.
Absolutely. And on the Cunha thing as well, that was done at the beginning of the window in a different PSR accounting period.